What's going on, everyone? So, the Clippers and the Lakers have been very one-sided the last few seasons, right? The Clippers have absolutely dominated the Lakers. Now, the last few seasons, the Lakers have kind of been in a bit of a disarray, right? Like, roster-wise, constantly having the turnover. They put together this old roster that, on paper, looked like one of the greatest teams ever assembled, but in reality, just didn't work out. They were too old. Everyone was past their prime. The Russ experiment just completely failed, completely flopped. LeBron James and Anthony Davis had injury issues, all that stuff. And then even last year, for the most part, the Clippers played us when we were just not had a very good team. And then on top of that, we had just gotten put together. So there is some, I guess, question marks about this matchup, this series with the Clippers. They've basically had the continuity. They've been the same team, the same roster. They don't have the ability to stay healthy, though, once they get to the playoffs. That's a big problem, right? And look, playoffs and regular season are two completely different things, right? How many times do we see LeBron over the course of his career get swept by like Atlanta or Toronto and then play them in the playoffs and sweep them in the playoffs, right? Lakers losing to the Clippers year in and year out, and the regular season is not the same thing as if they met in the playoffs and how that matchup would look, right? And the Clippers, they have always been little brother, right? So they want to prove. That is their Super Bowl, right? We need to beat the Lakers, right? Steve Ballmer's throwing things around in that locker room going, you better beat the Lakers, right? Like, that's the big thing, because they want to, try to separate themselves, right? They want to try to seem like they're not just little brother. The Clippers actually are their own thing, and they're the better team and whatnot, right? And look, the Clippers do match up very well against the Lakers these last few years, right? They have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, so they have the stars that can sort of match up with LeBron and Anthony Davis, and they have the depth and the wings and whatnot to just throw bodies at a LeBron James and at an Anthony Davis and whatnot, right? So it is understandable. Well, now this time, the Lakers have that same level of depth and that same level of size and that same level of in-depth talent, right? So this is going to be a much favorable matchup. This is going to be a better head-to-head, in my opinion. But how important is it for the Lakers to actually hand it to the Clippers, right? Does it matter or does it really not? And the reason this is even a question is because, again, this is supposed to be the year for the Lakers, right? This is the year where it's like, all right, we have the depth, we have the talent, we just came off the Western Conference Finals, right? We're ready to actually go and win an NBA championship. And so it would be nice to kind of erase some of those demons of years past, of the last few years, right? Kind of remove that stigma, because the media and just everything, you have that hype of the Lakers still can't beat the Clippers, right? And that becomes a real thing. And you play the Clippers the fifth game of the season, right? On November 1st, 2023, the Lakers and the Clippers will play their first meeting. I think it's relatively important because, one, the start to their season is very grueling, and two, we had a 2-10 start last year. We started 0-5 last year. It would be nice to beat Denver, to beat the Clippers, to beat the Suns, right? Now it's like, okay, we just beat 3 of the top 5 teams in the Western Conference, and we are one of the 5 teams. So that means we just beat 3 of the other 4 top teams in the Western Conference. We're ready to go. Let's do this. 3 teams that very likely can win an NBA championship. You also have, Russell Westbrook, right? It'd be nice to kind of, go at him because, he's going to want to ball out. He's going to want to show out. He's going to want to do a lot. And he's worked a lot better with the Clippers than he did with the Lakers, which makes sense. I mean, the Clippers spread the floor better. They got better 3-point shooting. And I just think it'll be a good test for the Lakers because, again, the Clippers will never be healthier, most likely, will never be healthier than that first matchup. And they're also a team that is a very good template as far as matchup-wise. And they have a guy in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George who can just go off, right, and go get you 30 on any given night. They have a Russell Westbrook that may give trouble in fits to a D'Angelo Russell or an Austin Reeves or stuff like that just because of his speed and his ability to go downhill. They have a lot of comparable players to a lot of the other teams that we're going to run into, right? Memphis, right? John Morant. You have Boston, right, with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. You have these other teams that have similar built rosters, but maybe don't have as much depth and overall talent as the Clippers do. Again, like if we're being honest, right? If the Clippers stayed healthy and they were healthy and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George were good, right? And they won the NBA championship, I don't think anyone would be surprised. Nobody would be surprised. It wouldn't be like, wow, the Spurs just won, like in Wemby's for no. It'd be like, well, they should win. They have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, two of the best two-way wings in the entire league. You have a depth that's just filled with size, three-point shooting, everything you need. You now have some centers, you have guards, you have everything. Like they have front to back one of the best well-built rosters in the entire league. They're just two stars cannot stay on the court. So you take that and they go from, being a title contender to a play-in team. And that's the difference here. But that's the thing with like most teams, right? Like if Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown missed, 90% of the season, they'd probably be a play-in team and miss the playoffs, right? But they have the coaching. They have all of the things that have the potential to give the Lakers problems. And it would be nice to get that W. It would be nice to kind of, again, erase that, oh no, this is just another Laker team, right? The Clippers just seem to have the Lakers number. Because that's a real thing, right? Like there's plenty of teams throughout the course of history that just seem to have other teams' numbers in all sports, right? You have for whatever reason, you just can't beat this team. The Red Sox just can't beat the Yankees, right? Like it's just stuff like that, right? Like you have these things that it just for whatever reason works out like that, right? Like no matter how bad a team is, you just can't seem to beat them. It's weird, but that's just how it goes. And the Clippers have the last few years just kind of been that team where it's like they're good, they're talented, and no matter like what the roster is that we just have a hard time beating them. But actually beating them kind of gives the Lakers that breath of fresh air of like, all right, we are different this year. This is a different team. This is a different situation. This is a different environment. It has the younger guys feeling confident. The media narrative just completely shifts and changes. And it goes from like, Lakers still can't beat the Clippers to, oh, this Lakers team is different. This Lakers team can win. This Lakers team is good. Watch out. The Lakers are here. All of the narrative just completely changes, which can change a locker room, which can change players' perspective. Because most of these players, especially the young ones, you don't think that they're looking on social media. You don't think they're listening and watching, ESPN and Colin Cowherd and, Fox Sports 1 and all this stuff, hearing the ins and outs and the backs and forths. Of course they are, right? So it would be nice to have these moments of like, we beat Denver, right? Opening night, we started 1-0 instead of the last few years where we lose on opening night. And, it's like you lay it on them. Like there's some of these things that the Lakers have just kind of built this habit over the last few years that I'd really like to see change. Again, it's not a be-all, end-all. It's not like if the Lakers lose to the Clippers, oh, that's it, pack it up, Lakers can't win. Like, no, I'm not going to look at it like that. It's just, and look, maybe they don't win the first game. Maybe they win the next three, right? Like maybe they just blow them out the next 3 times by 30 points a game. But I just think the Clippers, they will be the healthiest. They're a team and a roster that has been together, at least the main guys have been together for the last several seasons. They have the head coach. They have all of the things that you want to check off for a good kind of template of where do the Lakers rank. Like, right, where are the Lakers at? Right? Because the Clippers, if healthy, are a team that we may end up having to see in the playoffs. And it would be nice this year to kind of remove that stigma rather than like the last 16 times the Clippers have played the Lakers have beat them, and now we got to play them in the second round of the playoffs or the first round of the playoffs, right? And that kind of seeps in to the idea of like, can the Lakers actually beat the Clippers? Like, it becomes a thing. And again, regular season and playoffs are not the same thing, right? So even if the Clippers do sweep us this year, that doesn't mean that the Lakers might not sweep them in the playoffs, right? It's just there's so many things that go into it, right? You probably get a better LeBron if he's healthy. You probably get a better Anthony Davis. Guys elevate their games. We've seen what Rui does in the playoffs. We've seen Austin Reeves, how he elevates his game in the playoffs, right? Like, things are different in the playoffs. Defenses are tougher. Things are more, the three-point defense is a lot more prominent. They're chasing guys off harder than they would in the regulars. Like, there's a lot that goes into it. But it would be nice to kind of stick it to the Clippers a couple times. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think it's important to beat the Clippers? Do you think it's not? Do you think it would kind of add to like, okay, this is the year type thing, right? Or do you think no? Love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments.